Hey, World History, welcome to our week on dictators. This entire unit we've been looking at democracies and the ideals of democracies, democracy influencers slash philosophers. Today this week we're going to look at what happens under a dictatorship and what causes a dictatorship to rise. What's interesting about looking at democracies is we were looking at stuff back from the Greeks up through the Enlightenment and even the formation of the United States. And now we're going to be looking at dictators even in the 20th century. So some dictators that might have been alive when your great-grandparents were alive, or even maybe some of your grandparents. So to start, I would like for you guys to spend some time copying this note catcher into your interactive notebook, because the first couple lessons and play posits we're going to do, we're going to be taking a look at these three different dictators. So please go ahead and pause and copy that into your notebook. So what is a dictator? Well, a dictator is a ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force. The three dictators we're going to look at came to rise during the period after World War I, but before World War II. But they were in charge during World War II. Don't worry about the wars specifically. We will take a closer look at them in our war unit. But right now we're just going to kind of focus on what was going on to allow these gentlemen to rise to power. The first one we're taking a look at is Joseph Stalin. He was the dictator leader of the USSR, which is nowadays kind of broken up, but centralized in the country of Russia. And he's associated with communism, which is the idea that all property is publicly owned, and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. So basically everything is publicly owned and owned by everyone. Okay. The next guy we're taking a look at is Benito Mussolini. He was the dictator of Italy, and he's associated with this idea of fascism. And both Hitler and Mussolini could be considered fascist, which is the nation is above the individual, right? So there's not really individual rights. The national interest needs to be above everything. And in order to have the national interest be on top, you need to have a strong single ruler. And generally fascism is associated with like a strong military as well to protect the nation. Last guy you probably recognize is Adolf Hitler, associated with Germany and the Nazi Party, which again can be considered kind of a fascist government, but a very strong single-party state, all under Nazism. In just a couple terms, these guys are all dictators, and they're all following a government idea of totalitarianism, which is a system of government that is centralized and led by a dictator and requires the complete subservience to the state. So again, that idea that there aren't these individual rights or freedoms. So as we progress through this week and then rolling into the next week, when you're going to be doing the My Country project, keep these essential questions in mind. What social and economic circumstances lend themselves to the rise of a dictatorship? Because again, it's interesting. We've already researched democratic theory and the rise of democracies. So what was going on to allow these guys to come into power in the mid-1900s, which wasn't even 100 years ago? And then also think about what are some of the typical characteristics of dictators and a dictatorship. And we've kind of talked about that so far in this video. Next, you're going to be rolling into a series of YouTube videos that focuses on the rise of Joseph Stalin, Mussolini, and then later Hitler. So please have that graphic organizer open and complete those notes as you are engaging with the videos.